Imagine a ghost, but it had no head. Ooh. If you like my videos, please leave a like and subscribe. We're shooting for 500 subscribers by the end of the year, so let's do it. The original cover is simple, just like the concept, a headless ghost. I always was under the assumption that he was an adult when I looked at this, but that isn't true. Also, the ability to paint such a convincingly transparent ghost is just impressive to me. The reprint uses a blue and red slime, which works less to me, though the brighter color stands out. The taglines are, "Major Headache," and "They got a real head start." Get it? The classic reprint really understood the purple contrast from the original because now the entire room is purple. The headless ghost now actually has no head and he's sliding down the banister, something a kid would do. Since it released in 2018, there's no bonus features. This story is about Dwayne and Stephanie, the self-proclaimed twin terrors of Wheeler Falls. Since last Halloween, these two friends, only children, not related, totally normal kids, decide to terrorize the neighborhood at night. Dwayne decides to give us a flashback on how this hobby began. On Halloween night, Dwayne waited outside Stephanie's house in his Grim Reaper costume, eager to see what she was wearing, and then an animal attacked him. Not an actual animal, but Stephanie. Her costume is a disgusting black cat covered in goo. She's still wearing a Mickey Mouse wristwatch, which gives her away. So throughout the night, they spend more time scaring kids than getting candy, and they think, hey, it doesn't have to be Halloween to scare kids. And so the legend began, and they terrorized the whole neighborhood except for one place, Hill House. Yes, that Hill House, because that's where they met the headless ghost. Dwayne makes sure to explain Hill House as a tourist attraction in their town of Wheeler Falls, which he says is written about in a lot of books, so I guess this isn't technically the Hill House from the original book, but damn if it isn't inspired. So the gist is that they do house tours every hour, and the kid's favorite guide is Otto, a big, bald, scary-looking guy with a booming voice and great acting skills. So now, to go even further back, let's exposit the story of Hill House. It's 200 years old and haunted for most of that time. A sea captain built it for him and his wife, but as soon as it was finished, he was called out to sea. And while the wife waited months in this cold house all alone, the captain never returned. A year later, the captain's ghost just floated his way to the house to see his wife again. Unfortunately, his wife Annabelle never heard his cries and she fled. 100 years later, a new family bought the house. The Craws, they were called, had a son named Andrew. He was the most evil kid on earth, always torturing animals and playing tricks on people. So one day, he found a room hidden from the rest of the house. Inside was a table with a lit lantern, and the ghost of the sea captain. After all this time, somehow, the ghost aged and became monstrous in his appearance. Andrew couldn't be allowed to leave after seeing him, so the captain ripped his head off right then and there and hid it somewhere in the house. The captain then disappeared, but in his place is now Andrew Craw, the headless ghost, still searching for his head. An exposition dump before the ending? How rare. Don't worry, there'll be more. But now, we've got to learn about the trouble they've gotten into lately. A few weeks ago, Stephanie had a great idea after their nightly rounds of scaring. The same little scares on all the same little kids is boring. Let's haunt the Hill House. Meaning, they should sneak off during the tour and look for the century-old missing head. Dwayne has some clear hesitation, but Stephanie says he's a shivering, scared little piss baby, so yeah, he's coming along. They go inside to see their favorite guide. Otto is free to lead them on the tour. If you were wondering about payment like me, the kids are such regulars they don't even charge them anymore. Ain't that just great? The rest of the tour group is either full of teens or adults, so no other kids. Otto starts off with an introduction, and other than what we already know, we learn the captain's name was William P. Bell and that he died in a shipwreck. Totally relevant. He also always carried a lantern around. How Annabelle never saw that, I don't know, but the story now seems to change to say she fled before he could meet her again. Oh well. Otto continues. After Andrew's death, his 12-year-old sister Hannah went mad. She sat in a rocking chair and played with her dolls for 80 years straight. And then, his mother. One day when she went down these very stairs. I haven't been saying it myself, but since this is a tour, just know Otto's leading them through all the rooms and places as he talks. Anyway, the mother fell down these very stairs and died. Dwayne remembers that the whole point of this was to sneak off, and he looks around for an escape point. He notices another kid watching them. Strange, there weren't any other kids when this started. He's blonde, their age, and super pale. He's also wearing some black jeans and a black turtleneck, so what is he, an employee? Ooh. He tells Stephanie, but she doesn't care. Time to run! Now that they're alone together in a dark hallway, it's time to explore. Dwayne just spends most of his time saying some really exciting stuff for the story, like, I really don't want to be here, and I'm scared. Stephanie leads the way the whole time, first stopping at the green room, called that because it's completely decorated with vines. Apparently 60 years ago, 2 guests in this room woke up with some unexplainable purple rash they never cured. Who knows if that or anything else here is true? Steph dives under the bed searching, and when she comes out, she's bright red. She starts crying out how much it itches, scratching herself all over, and then she laughs. Dwayne, you are a little bitch. He tries to talk back, but then she sees it. The head! Dwayne spins around and screams, Sucker! Fell for it again! She says, with her fingers crossed, that she won't scare him anymore after this, but what choice does he have other than to follow? The next room is Andrew's. It's filled with all of his old toys from a century ago, and Stephanie orders Dwayne to check under the bed. He feels the mattress, punches the pillows, but when he goes to check under, the blanket starts to move on its own. Actually, it's Stephanie, scolding him for moving so slowly. The bed is a dead end, so they put everything back together. Stephanie makes an offhand comment that she can sense a ghost nearby, and just then, Dwayne sees the head in the doorway, a skull staring right up at him. He grabs Stephanie, but she sees it too. In a rare, brave moment, Dwayne is the first to start slowly moving towards it, as it seems Stephanie is finally scared for once. Dwayne goes to grab the skull, but it slips away and rolls towards Steph's foot. In that moment, Dwayne decides he needs to be the brave one. He grabs the skull with both hands and moves it toward the nearby lantern sitting on a dresser. But then they both look down to see that the head was actually just a bowling ball, one that goes with a set of pins across the room. This ancient 100-year-old ball only has 2 finger holes, so they mistook them for eye sockets. They can hear Otto under them, so while Stephanie thinks it's time to stop for today, Dwayne's little stint of bravery makes him cocky. He suggests maybe going to the top floor. Now that's where all the ghosts must be. In actuality, Dwayne really hopes she says no, but nope. Let's go. Passing by a clear no visitors sign, the top floor is nearly pitch black besides moonlight floating through the windows. The floor is hot as hell and full of dust, and most of the rooms are pretty empty. The rooms are connected, so they quickly make it into another and realize it's completely dark. A thumping noise begins, and neither of them are making it. 4 yellow eyes in the darkness, and then more cat-like eyes. Wait, cat? They realize a bunch of cats just live up here, and a few brush up against their legs. They both decide it's time to finally get out for today, and Steph even trips on one of the cats in the darkness. The cats yell so loud they decide to just close the door on them all. Sure, they'll be fine. So now they seem to be in some hallway. This one at least has a window casting light, and it even has a balcony. The kids decide to finally quit looking around today, but just then, the ghostly hands grab them both. Oh, the ghostly hands keep them trapped like a web. Oh, a web. The hands were really just cobwebs. What in this book actually is paranormal? Damn! Steph makes the suggestion that with all these webs there must be spiders, so both kids scratch themselves while running down the hall thinking they got bugs all over them. At the end of the hall there aren't any stairs, so they have no choice but to follow another nearby hallway. In this one, the doors all have candles lit by them. At the end they hear voices from one of the rooms, laughing. Seems like they found the tour, which just ended. But when they open the door, the room is empty and dark. Weird. Sounded like a party full of people. Wait, people? They were ghosts! Dwayne says he can still feel their presence somehow when a cold breeze blows past them. Neither of them move, scared to disturb the ghosts anymore. They think this must be their living quarters, the same room that Andrew snuck into and got his head ripped off. Luckily, the kids leave the room without incident, and they start checking out every room, desperate to get out of here. It feels like they're going in circles until they find a new door with, coincidentally, a horseshoe on it. This lucky symbol leads to a staircase, but then, someone's coming up! There's no time to run, but it turns out to just be Otto. They try to make some shitty excuses, but Otto's a nice guy, so he just reminds them the floor is private and leads them back. He left another guide, Edna, to take over while he looked for them. She's an old woman, and her style of tour is a more old, sad take on the stories than the shocking and scary way Otto does it. They pass through Joseph Craw's study, Andrew's father. Only a year after Andrew died, he came into his study to warm himself by the fireplace, and the next morning, his maid found just his 2 charred hands gripping the mantelpiece. Now how did that happen? Otto offers them to rejoin the group, but the kids decide to go home because it's so late. Before they leave, though, they notice that blonde-haired kid staring at them again. Outside, Stephanie says they should do this again. She swings on her wool muffler, but it gets caught in a bush. When Dwayne goes to get it, a voice says, "Did you find my head?" Dwayne turns around to ask Steph if she heard that, but she's stunned. He turns back around and sees the same blonde boy from the tour. But damn, he was just in the study. How did he get down here so fast? He says he saw them sneak away and wonders if they saw anything. Interesting. His name is Seth, and he's just visiting town. As soon as Dwayne and Steph mention ghosts, though, Seth perks up. He jumps up and says, "Do you want to see some real ghosts?" "Yeah, sure." Seth says he saw a real ghost in Hill House once, and the reason our protagonists haven't is because they only come out after the tours are over. He snuck in one night, which, if he's visiting the town, when did he do that? Anyway, he went through a back door, snuck past the guard, and saw an old lady in a dress with glowing red eyes. She slid down the banister like that classic Goosebumps cover and screamed, her eyes leaving a glowing red trail. Seth felt like the lady was going to grab him, but as soon as she reached the bottom, she disappeared. And so it's decided, tomorrow night, we're sneaking back in. Both Dwayne and Steph's parents are heavy sleepers, so late at night, sneaking away is all too easy. It's around midnight and freezing rain is falling down, leading to an atmospheric and hard-to-see night. They make it to Hill House, but don't see Seth anywhere. They walk around back to the door, and suddenly Seth appears. The ghost! He got me! Seth falls dead, but none of the kids fall for it. He finds the two weird for being self-proclaimed experts in scaring, so now it's time for Seth to lead them inside, and he promises they'll see a real ghost. Seth piles on a few more red flags, like giving vague answers like, we're in a back room, and ghosts don't come out if you turn on a light. Well, actually, candlelight's fine, so let me just go away in this complete darkness to go get some candles for us. What's left is a cold breeze and the sound of rattling bones. Dwayne asks Steph if she heard that too, but she's gone. In the darkness, Dwayne sees two yellow eyes again coming towards him. Turns out they're actually just candle flames, held by Seth and Steph. Apparently, she said she was going with Steph to find candles, and Dwayne just didn't hear her. Great. With a candle for himself, Dwayne sees they're in the kitchen. A loose window pane and some rattling pots and pans make his windy skeleton worries fade away. Seth leads them over to a dumbwaiter near the stove. He says Otto told him this dumbwaiter got haunted 120 years ago. When they sent the food up from the kitchen, the plate would arrive upstairs empty. Oh my. After several times this happened, the cook ordered everyone to stop using it. But one day, some kids were visiting, and a boy named Jeremy thought it would be funny to ride the dumbwaiter himself. Halfway up, the shelf got stuck, and suddenly it came crashing back down. 3 bulls were there in his place, holding his still beating heart, his eyeballs, and his teeth. Scary stuff, but again, that still isn't a real ghost. And Seth says, yeah, they're right. So he locks them in the pantry. Yeah, it's quite sudden. Dwayne drops his candle and Steph nearly attacks Seth for doing that. He stares blankly at them like before and says he played a little trick on them. His name's not actually Seth. It's Andrew. And he's the ghost. Dwayne starts pleading for their lives, but it's too late. Just like what happened to him, he can't let them leave. He goes to take his own head off, but Steph yells at him to stop. He explains further that he borrowed this kid's head for his own use and he has to return it. I don't know why, but he made himself visible to the kids because he likes Dwayne's head, and he's gonna take his this time. Andrew says he'll only be borrowing it until he finds his own head, or a better one. Steph begs, saying that they'll find his head for him if they just give him a chance. Unfortunately, about a century of looking around with no luck, Andrew doesn't buy it. The kids are backed all the way up against the wall, but just when Dwayne's head is about to get popped off, the wall begins to slide away, a hidden rotating entrance to some sort of tunnel. It's extremely short and made of bare concrete, but it has to go somewhere, so they follow it. Until it leads to a dead end of concrete. Andrew's voice starts coming closer, but in the darkness, Dwayne barely notices a metal ladder in the corner. The ladder is covered in dust, and as they make it up, the wall itself starts breaking apart into chunks. The kids fall down, noticing Andrew right above them. They also notice the crumbling wall gave way to a hidden room, and in that room is a boy's head. Dwayne's excited, expecting Andrew to be ecstatic and leave them alone, but then he notices he's frightened. Something floats down from above. A ghost! The ghost wears thin, old-fashioned clothes and is headless. He lifts the head off the floor, reattaches it, and thanks them before floating away. So Dwayne then says, well, if you aren't Andrew, then who the fuck are you? Seth starts to back away, and Otto's booming voice yells at him. He warns him this part of the house is dangerous and notices the other kids when they all escape from the tunnel. Turns out Otto is Seth's uncle, and Seth keeps quiet as he keeps getting scolded. The kids play it cool and say they'd never believed he was a ghost, especially after seeing the real one. Sure, Otto says, and tells them to get out. So after that night, Dwayne and Steph decided to give up on haunting the neighborhood, because after seeing a real ghost, nothing else is really fun anymore. They both went on to pursue other activities until one night in spring. After all this time, they decided to give the tour one last visit since the Headless incident. There's no other customers, but Otto takes them on a complimentary tour. After that, a policeman's waiting on the curb. He asks what they were doing, and when they say the tour, he says there haven't been any tours at Hill House since 3 months ago. Dwayne looks up and sees an orange, soft trail of lantern light float by the window, and the ghostly figures of Otto and Edna appear and then fade away. So that book was okay. As most of the plot is stories and tours, this one really would work better as a movie or an episode, which we actually do have. I'm glad that halfway through, though, Dwayne actually decides to become braver and make some choices for himself, or else this book would be a little bit worse. Some of the imagery is also really nice. The ghost lady sliding down the stairs, the father burning to death, the kids' heart, eyes, and teeth being served to the other kids. It's all really strong and potentially scary stuff, which I bet won't make the episode. When I wrote this script, I hadn't watched the episode yet, but now that I'm voicing it, I have. And yeah, there's nothing. The ending also makes it clear that Otto and Edna were ghosts, with two outcomes or questions. They were always ghosts and decided to stop doing the tour when Andrew found his head, and stuck around till spring, I guess, for the kids. Or they got killed right after his head was found, which that one makes no sense to me. And who knows what happened to Seth, maybe he was just a ghost too. The episode immediately starts with a scary lighthouse and some amazing editing in Hill House.
Where are you?
Andrew is here searching for a ghost, less of an evil trickster and more of a pushover. Honestly, this kid's the worst actor in the show yet.
I was just going, Mama. No.
Now that you have seen me, you cannot leave.
Please.
We cut right to Otto explaining the rest of the story in the tour, and Steph grabs this little girl's leg, causing them both to get kicked out. Instead of being loved patrons, Otto isn't really a fan of them being the twin terrors. Whoa, who's that? Like the book, Otto explains the story of the ski captain. Also, there's a painting of headless Andrew on the wall. Pretty insensitive, don't you think? The kids sneak off and, dude, mind your own business. Dwayne gets scared of all the ocean artifacts in this room, and Steph gets him with a double fake out, just like the book. Some big-ass steps approach, and Otto catches them. He decides to throw them out for good for disrespecting the spirits, and Steph throws a snowball square at the door knocker, causing this weird green ghost effect to happen. Jesus Christ! So yeah, this is Seth, and he gives us the same spiel from the book about how he can show them some real ghosts. He also says he sneaked in, just like the book. We say snuck in this household. But anyway, Seth even convinces Dwayne to move the plot along faster than the book, so they're going in tonight. Seth's a lot more confident in the episode, and the rooms are way too heavily lit for Seth to need this candle. He explains the story of the dumbwaiter, and he changes it, of course. This time it's some unnamed kid who is obsessed with strawberry ice cream. One time the dumbwaiter got stuck, so he reached in a little too far, and when he came up...
It was hard to tell the difference between the boy's face and the strawberry ice cream. Gross.
It's time to find some real ghosts, and this time we'll find them in the captain's secret room, which seems to be less of a secret and more of the entire attic. Seth locks them in and gives them the whole Andrew bit. Also, check this backing track.
I'm gonna take yours. I need your head, Dwayne. I need it too. It won't hurt. Well, maybe just a little.
Dwayne tries to use the dumbwaiter as a last-minute escape plan and...
What were you expecting? A dish of ice cream?
Now you don't have to take mine.
Hey, over here.
Otto comes in to explain the whole Seth connection and tells Dwayne to leave through this tunnel while he talks to Steph. In actuality, it seems Otto is the deceased captain, and Seth is the stupid ice cream boy. Again, check out the music here. The captain has this painting technique that lets him turn people into ghosts, and Dwayne messes it up. Before the screaming spirit of Otto can catch them, the kids run away. We cut right to a fresh family buying the house. From Otto? I'm gonna be honest, that episode was funny as shit. I do not think it was better than the book personally. The imagery, the stories, the plot, not as good. I think the book can be boring for the most part, but the stories are cool. And there's a refreshingly calming ending with the fact that spirits pass on after saving Andrew. In this, man, again, I was speechless. The kid playing Andrew could not act, and that sequence with him showing up again, oh my god. Seth turned out to be a boy obsessed with ice cream, and I'll say making Otto the captain was cool, but his screaming repeating in the background was too funny. Honestly, not a single thing from the episode was even remotely scary, besides Seth jump scares, I guess, and if that's what they were going for, then good job. But hold on to your heads, because in 2 weeks, make sure to subscribe for when the abominable snowman comes to Pasadena, California.